And sections 6 and 7, they are also mirror images. Last year, we amended the definition of floor area in the former borough and township, and this recommends adding an additional language in both the borough and township that deals with cathedral space. And quite simply, what we're looking to do is that if there is a ceiling height of 12 feet or more, you count it twice. It doesn't have a floor, so you're getting a two-story volume, but in terms of FAR, the bulk, the mass of the structure, it was only counting for that one floor area. This would then require that it be counted twice, so that people will be forced to make a decision, do they want the cathedral space or the living space if they're pushing up against the FAR. And that came mostly as a leftover from last year when we were amending the floor area definition.
Does anybody have any questions on this one? I'll ask a question that we got in an email about attic space. And did you receive that email also or not?
I don't know if I want you to.
Okay. I'm going to try to describe this. No, I didn't get that one. This is from Marina. So, all right. So right now, this would say if you have a sloped roof that you need to count it twice. Thank you.
Is it the sloped roof issue, or is it just the cathedral ceiling?
Well, it's the cathedral ceiling. If it's a cathedral ceiling, you don't need to count it, or you would need to count it. But if you just make it into an attic, then you don't need to count it, and so it wouldn't necessarily help reduce the bulk, I think, is the argument that's being made as potentially.
But this is the first time I'm seeing it. I'm not quite certain what the attic space, because we deal with attics a little bit differently if it's an attic. This was just to take into account the volume of a cathedral's space so that you count that as FAR. It does allow for a little bit of a sloped ceiling to give as a discount. That seemed to be the best practice that we found. But from last year, there was some concern saying people are adding to the mass of the structure, and we should be using volume because you don't pick up this two-story space, or in some cases a three-story space, in the floor area itself. So this is what we're doing. I think we're going to need to revisit attics, and talking again to the zoning officer. We changed it to match the building code, you may remember, to say if it's a 7-foot height, we count it as FAR. If it's less, we don't. He's gotten a number of applications where the ceiling height is 6 feet 10. So people are carefully watching what we're doing. I think we're going to have to revisit that, and if the attic space becomes an issue, we may have to go down to, as one member in the public suggested, 5 feet, because you could see 6'6", depending on your family and how tall or short you are.
Works for me.
Yeah. So we're aware of the issues. We'll come back, but we didn't have an answer because it's not quite that simple. And candidly, I think we're going to come back to you with a much more robust discussion on floor area and what it is, that the size of the homes that the ordinance permits, and what are the impacts. I spoke to the consultant because there are economic issues that are involved. There are design issues that are involved. There are perceived takings that may be included in this. There's a host of issues when you deal with the floor area. I think that's truly the crux of many of the comments, is just the house is too big. We're trying to address it in some small ways. We'll come back with more design things so that if we're going to have a large house, hopefully we could have a better designed house, or one that respects the neighborhood character a little bit better than they currently do. But we will have a robust discussion, I think, on floor area, because that truly is the key of what I'm hearing at the meetings, is people are concerned. You know, we can say the garage is set back or it's flush. It's still, the issue is the overall size of the homes. And there are good reasons why those homes are becoming that size, but we'll have that discussion, I think, next year.
Okay. Ms. Carmella?
Well, I just think that, I mean, the question about wait, are we saying that we're not going to do this one? Or we are? I mean,
No, I think it's still on the list. It's
Yeah.
just, I think Mr. Sell was saying that we come back and work on attics next year.
okay, right. Because this is it's really, to me, it's pretty simple. If it's a two-story space, then it should count. The floor should count. On the second story, should count.
Yeah. You have to use your mic.
I'm sorry. This came about because people were concerned with the cathedral space not counting in the FAR when we do the calculation. Not everybody's going to like the regulation. It's a small way to address some of the massing that was particularly picked up in some of the focus groups. And even last year we heard from people who were saying you got to do something about the cathedral space that just adds to the volume and the mass of the building.
Right. But before we open it up for public comment, and I don't know if Jenny has anything additional to add, I just wanted to let our colleagues know we did have these 3 focus groups, and I would summarize from 2 of the focus groups strong support, and especially from the residential focus group, it's you need to be doing more faster already. We did hear quite a bit of pushback from the professionals focus group that we had, and there was a desire to take a big step back and be more holistic in the approach and take a look at the zoning maps, take a look at where the boundaries were, really do an assessment so that we get the zoning right instead of trying to chip away at different pieces of it. And certainly my feeling after having gone through the whole process is that we need to do both. But that I think to wait until we have everything perfectly in line, we're going to see a lot of changes in a lot of our neighborhoods, and we're not going to be responding to what we're hearing. And I think there's a danger in waiting a year and a half before acting on anything. But I do want to let people know. I mean, not everybody is here tonight. Obviously, was at the focus groups. They were well attended, but we did hear very strongly, both from the residents and from our most of the members of our boards and commissions, who are our front lines for a lot of these issues, that they would like help by having stronger ordinances, and they were largely supportive of these particular changes that we have in front of us tonight.
Right, and the objections, I don't think we heard as many specific objections, except for the one we got by email today, but so I didn't hear any, I personally didn't hear any reasons not to do these, the ones that we're doing, that I felt, I mean, it seems to me like they are ordinances that will help the situation, and I didn't hear any, really strong arguments against them. The arguments by the professionals would, in that focus group were mainly, you shouldn't be doing this at all. You should just be doing it differently, but not really giving us reasons not to do these specific ones. Although there were some.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments before we open it up? So we can open it up. We'll open it up to public comment, and then we'll bring it back to council for a discussion. So if you'd like to speak, I just encourage you. You don't have to raise your hand. Just come up and go to the microphone, state your name and address, and then we'll try to hear from as many people